Sophia Parsa strives to see a world where technology is used to make education universally accessible. She draws her largest influence from her father, a successful tech entrepreneur, and tributes her long-standing ambition to building an empire to a pivotal moment in her childhood in which she accompanied her father to CES at the age of 5. After the seed was planted, she never saw another course herself, going on to start her first business at 20. Today, Sophia has developed an embodiment of entrepreneurship and leadership, serving as the CEO and co-founder of Toot, an educational tech startup that supports traditional education systems with a suite of tutoring products. She's been recognized, check this out guys, she's a Forbes 30 on 30 in education due to this work and other amazing things that she does. She's also the curator and founder of Mountain Gate, a community that catalyzes life-changing discussions and collaborations for young revolutionary leaders across all spheres of education, music, social impact, space exploration, think tanks, and more. This group has grown to over 1,000 members. It's had amazing guests like Keith Ferrazzi, Bobby Turner, Brock Pierce, Pyle Kadakia, CEO of Thrive Market, the founder of Crashlytics, and more. Give it up for Sophia Parsa.
Hi everyone, can you hear me? I'm Sophia. I'm just going to give you my story. I think that's the best way to use our 10 minutes. I think I've been through a hell of a journey over the last 3 years when I decided to leave my first company and start my next. And I think maybe some of the things that I learned over that time could be useful to you. So 3 years ago, I made a really difficult decision. I told my dad, who was my mentor, that I wasn't happy where I was and that I wanted to start a new company. I was at CES. At that time, I started a digital signage company where we were sending software to the cloud and basically putting this on a monitor across 300 stores at Burger King. And that was my first pilot at 20. And at school, they said, you know what, you're an entrepreneurship major, you need to start your first company, and so I did. Now, the caveat was I wasn't supposed to incorporate that company. I was just supposed to make this fake company, and I decided if I'm going to do this, I'm really going to do this. And so I did, and I was on my way to CES at the airport, and I came across this Forbes 30 Under 30 magazine. It was the first time I ever heard of it. And I picked it up, I opened it, and I noticed that I knew a lot of the people on that list. And how did I not realize that passion was the thing that really drives people in this crazy roller coaster of entrepreneurship? So I was selling ads, and I said, is that why I'm here? Is my purpose to sell advertisements? For some it is, right? But for me, it just didn't feel like the right fit. So we were getting monitors that day, and I told my father, I love you, but I can't do this anymore. And how do you feel about me making a switch and starting this app that I've been thinking about? And he said, what just happened? I said, I picked up this magazine, I read all these articles, I now understand what it means to really want to make it, and I think I need to be passionate about the thing I'm building. And he said, fine, you can do it as long as you make the Forbes 30 Under 30 list. I said, okay, deal. So me being me, I said, easy. I got that in my back pocket, I'll do it. Little did I know how difficult it was actually going to be, but so that night I started wireframing what was going to be Toot. Now, Toot has about 7,000 tutors on it. We are in a place right now that's really strong, growing really fast organically. It's taken us 3 years to get to this point. We've made so many pivots. We went from being a face-to-face, in-person tutoring app to a text messaging service. And the thing that's stuck is basically an app that looks like Snapchat. And we're letting students now send us problems when, in between lessons, when tutors don't necessarily want to come over for the full hour. So you've just this one problem, and you don't want people to come for the full hour to your home. But what do? You can Google it, but does that really solve anything? And so what we do is we allow students to solve that one problem they can't understand. And it's been an incredible ride. Now, if you looked at me 3 years ago, you would have been very surprised that I was in education. Not your typical student, straight C's for sure, barely went to class. Most of my professors write me today and they said, did you really make Forbes 30 under 30 in education? I'm like, yeah, that's me, for sure. And so, you know, life puts you in weird places. But the thing that actually made me passionate about this company was meeting my co-founder. Really interesting guy, super interesting story. He's here from Iran. He's now 25 years old. At the time, he was 22. He fled the country. He was a Baha'i. He is a Baha'i, I should say. And in Iran, if you're Baha'i, you can't go to college. There's many things that the government just doesn't allow you to do, unfortunately. It's not really spoken about. Most people don't know it. But so he was going to school underground, which is crazy. And underground meaning in living rooms in a situation that wasn't really formalized. And one day his class got raided and he wasn't there. A lot of his professors were arrested and a lot of the students were arrested. And he decided to flee the country ultimately after he realized that he can't start a company here. Does he really have a future here? So he fled. When he got to Turkey, he applied for political asylum. And the minute he got here, maybe a month later, I was introduced to him through my father. So my father has a really strong place in my entire story. He's the reason why I started my first company, the reason why I started my second company, and the reason I met my co-founder. And I know that that's not a traditional story. People always come to me and they say, how do you find a technical co-founder? Like, where do you go? There's no real story. I mean, there's no real formula for finding that person. This person fell on my lap. And I now all of a sudden, being that C student that honestly cheated, like through their entire education, I had this different perspective on education as a whole globally. To me, education has always been a right. And up until the point that I met my co-founder, I didn't realize that education was actually a gift. And so it changed my entire perspective. I took my company really seriously at that point, in that moment. I said, this isn't just helping students in the US, I need to get to a place where I'm helping students like him, right, and creating access globally. Now, we're in a great place. We've been working on it for 3 years. We raised some money from really notable angels and investors, and we made lots of pivots and switches. But here's the thing. The one reason why I am standing here today and I'm funded, et cetera, is actually, it's partially what we've built, but the other part of it is the people that I surround myself with. When we were going through that pivot, we went through this development stage where I didn't have much to do. We had all our tutors, we had all of our supply, we had a little bit of demand, but we needed to go build. And so I said to myself, this is the time, since we're making all these pivots and switches, and I'm not really sure where the next day is going to be, this is the time for me to start surrounding myself with people who actually understand me, who actually understand what it's like being a founder and going through this journey. And so I hosted one dinner in my yard, my backyard, my family backyard. And I said, okay, I'll just invite 20 founders to come have dinner with me. And that turned into a dinner series that has really significantly helped the success of my company. We've had about 2,000 people have had dinner with us. We've had some incredible founders, like the founder of ClassPass, the founder of Thrive Market, the author of the book Never Eat Alone. I mean, some awesome people come and speak to a group of 90 to 150 people over dinner. And it's all about just bringing great entrepreneurs together, creating some sort of support system, and letting that take us where we need to go. And so what ended up happening with that is we created this digital platform for entrepreneurs to go and ask questions, find ways to connect, tell each other about up and coming events that are going on. And it's really been the thing that has supported me the most throughout this entire journey. So my one, I think, maybe advice is, sure, go find a mentor. Mentors are great, but I believe in many mentors. I don't know that one mentor can really significantly change your life. I think that, like, I have a mentor for family issues. I have a mentor for relationship issues. I have a mentor for my business, right? And there's just these key people that I look at and I say, you really crush it at what you do, in my mind, in this one area of your life, and that's why I believe I need to be talking to you right now. But also, the support system that you create around you, I've really realized that everyone wants to help. It's really crazy. You know, you get afraid to ask for help, and in the end, people actually want to give it to you. And so this dinner series has, gotten me to a place where I've met all the journalists who's covered us for all of our press. I've met several investors through this dinner series. I've met key people who have really significantly changed the direction of my business, and I encourage everyone to host small salons. Like, host something. How can you get people together around one idea? Did you think about that? How can you help people come together, connect, and help them get to the next level? I promise you, you'd be so surprised in what crazy things can happen when you just bring 10 people around over food, over drinks. Maybe it's even just a hike, right? But like, how do you get people together and excited about one thing that's beneficial for all of you? So the long story short is, unfortunately, my dad, he ended up passing away actually 2 years ago in a couple of days. And it was one of the hardest things that had ever happened in my life. Going through this journey was already crazy, and then losing the person who basically shaped the way that my company was going and I went to for everything was now gone. And for the longest time, I said to myself, I'm never going to find a new mentor. Like, this is just not something, I can't replace that person. How can I replace my dad, right? And I shut myself away from that. And most recently, I finally, without looking for it, someone fell into my lap that has become another strong person in my life that has taken my company and look at it and says, I want to help you succeed. And this person's in education. She's a community builder. She is literally who I think I might be in a couple of years. And that was through my salon, right? That was through this dinner series. I asked her to speak at an event, and she said, you remind me of a young me. Like, how can I help you? The moral of this story is everyone has this journey. We're all building stuff, right? Every day. We're working on our companies, we're working on family, we're working on friends, etc. I really strongly believe, just like the person who spoke to me before said, your network really can shape your success. And there's no better way to shape that success than getting vulnerable with people and really being real about what's going on and building that circle of trust and taking it to the next level. So happy to answer any questions later about what it takes to start building a small salon and how that could maybe affect your business, or what are some ideas to start wrapping people together around. And yeah, so here to help. Thanks for having me. Woo.